This is Jimmy.
And I'm Lance.
And this is Math with Miss Key.
All right, gang, you should have your notes. Today you're going to title it Factoring Polynomials, and your essential question is, what is factored form for a polynomial? It's essential that you know when we ask you what to put this polynomial in factored form, that you know what it means. So the steps to writing a polynomial in factored form, the easiest way is using the greatest common factor. Remember, that's what GCF stands for. Step 1, find the greatest common factor, the biggest term, greatest, and then you're going to use the distributive property to write the polynomial as a product, so an answer to a multiplication problem, answer to multiplication problem, and its remaining factors. So let's go ahead and get started out with some examples. All right, number 1. This is just me personally, I like to find what the two terms, because this is a binomial, what the binomial has in common with variables. First, z squared, and there is no variable here, so there's no going to be in the greatest common factor, there is going to be no z. Okay, now we're going to look between 5 and 30. What's the greatest common factor between 5 and 30? That happens to be 5. So 5 is going to be outside the parentheses. Here's how we figure out what's inside the parentheses. 5z squared divided by 5 is 5 divided by 5 is 1, leaving z squared plus 30 divided by 5 equals 6 plus 6, and you figured it out. Number 2, again, working with the variables. So x squared and x, what do they have in common? The biggest number that they have in common is x, okay? Now 3 and 14, what do 3 and 14 have in common? Do 3 and 14 have anything in common is what you think's next. If you can't figure it out, remember you can always go like you did in elementary school, 3, 14. What are the factors of 3? 1 and 3. What are the factors of 14? 1, 7, 14. So they don't have anything else in common but 1, so we're just going to leave this one as x. All right, go through and divide out each term, the two terms, with x. So first term, 3x squared divided by x. Remember, this also says 3 times x divided by x. X divided by x is 1. Now we have 3 x's left, so inside 3x. Now we're going to work with the 14x plus 14x divided by x. X divided by x is 1 plus 14. And here's your answer. All right, problem number 3. Y squared and y, they have y in common. Now, negative 24 and 8 have what in common? We're going to look at 8 and we're going to look at 24. If you have to write this out to help you, do it. 1, 2, 4, 8. 24 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and I'm going to stop at 8 because that's the highest one that the 8 goes into. So 8 y's they both have in common. 8y is going to be outside the parentheses. Let's figure out what's inside by division. 8y squared, or 8y times y, divided by 8y. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Y divided by y is 1, so 1y. Now, negative 24y divided by 8y. Y divided by y is 1. And negative 24 divided by 8 is negative 3, minus 3. All right, let's look at another example. Okay, now we're going to solve the equation. When we have this x squared, it's easiest to put it into factored form first and then use our zero product property to solve for the zeros. Remember those x-intercepts. That's my suggestion. So what goes into 3x squared and the greatest common factor between 3x squared and 21x. Greatest common factor between the two x's, it's x. Between the 3 and the 21, it's 3. Okay, so now I'm going to factor out 3x. 3x squared divided by 3x. 3x squared divided by 3x is x. 21x divided by 3x is 7. Our new polynomial in factored form is 3x times x plus 7. You can check your work by distributive property, and you better be getting the same thing that you have originally. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 7 is 21x, and that's what we have above. Okay, zero product property. When will this term be 0? 3 times what is 0? When x is 0. When will this term be 0? When x is negative 7. So there's your two answers for solving the equation. All right, number 5, we don't already have it set equal to 0. That's our first step. So we're going to take away 5z from both sides. 5z squared minus 5z equals 0. Now we can use our greatest common factor, and then we can use our zero product property. Okay, so between them, they both have a z in common, and they both have a 5 in common. So 5z squared divided by 5z is z. Okay, 5 divided by 5 is 1, z divided by z is 1, but there's still, it's 2 z's there. Okay, negative 5z divided by a positive 5z is a negative 1. Okay, that goes inside the parentheses. Greatest common factor goes outside the parentheses. Set equal to 0. Now we're going to use our zero product property. So z has to be 0 here, and here z has to be 1. So we just found the two x-intercepts. Big picture, here's our x-intercepts of this parabola. Last example. Let's go back to black. Okay, we're going to take away a 6y squared. Take away 6y squared to set it equal to 0. Much easier to work with the zero product property. Negative 6y squared, I'm writing this in standard form, plus 18y equals 0. Greatest common factor between them is y, and between negative 6 and 18, 6, positive 6 is the greatest common factor, not a negative. Okay, so now we're going to divide out negative. Now we're going to divide out 6 from everything. So this is going to be negative y plus, inside the parentheses, 3, negative y plus 3, outside 6y equals 0. Zero product property, this one has to be 0, y equals 0. This one has to be 3, y equals 3. There's your two x-intercepts. All right, let's go to one last example. All right, our last example, and ignore this number 7, is the big picture that we're wanting you to see on being able to use factored form to solve polynomials, because it is much easier, but we kind of have to understand what factoring means. Okay, so our next example and last one, the height of a male athlete testing his vertical jump can be modeled by y equals negative 16t squared plus 14t. How many seconds, and t stands for seconds, time, is he in the air? How many seconds is he in the air? So let's just go ahead, and I'm going to draw us a little picture. So we have this equation that models a situation in which an athlete is jumping and testing his vertical, that means his up, down, height. So when you jump, you kind of do this kind of number. It's probably a steep jump, okay? And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to find out how many seconds he is in the air. And the seconds are between the two x-intercepts, okay? Our two x-intercepts. So let's go ahead and find the two zeros. Zeros are what we call x-intercepts for the parabola. Okay, factor form is the easiest way to follow through on this one and to find the answer. So set equal to 0, 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 14t. Okay, greatest common factor between t squared and t is t. Between negative 16 and 14 is, let's go ahead and make our... Alright, sorry for that distraction. Okay, so the greatest common factor between the two t's is t. Okay, between negative 16 and 14, that's what we're going to figure out, 16 and 14, and we're not going to worry about the negative sign because they can't have a negative in common, they'll have to have a positive. All right, so we have 1, we have 2, we have not 3, we have 4, not 5, don't have 6, don't have 7, we have 8, don't have 9, 10, 11, and then 16. Okay, 14, we have 1, we have 2, we have 7, and we have 14. So which our greatest one? 2. So we're going to take out 2t from our problem. Negative 16t squared, negative 16t times t divided by 2t is negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. T divided by t is 1, but we still have that t here, so t. Then we're going to do 14 t divided by 2, t. Half of 14 is 7. T divided by t is 1. All right, great. Outside our parentheses, our factored form is 2t times negative 8t plus 7. Great. Now our two zeros, so this is our x-intercepts, is the time is 0 here. That's when he starts jumping. And here, our time is 7/8, because 8 divided by 8 is 1, and then negative 7 plus 7 is 0. Great. So when he's done jumping and he hits the ground, it's 7/8 of a second. How many seconds is he in the air? 7/8 of a second. Here's your answer. 7/8 of a second. Time is 7/8 seconds, SEC, seconds long. All right, big picture, that's where we need you to get to. But let's go ahead and work on some small steps. On your own, I would like you just to be able to write these two problems in factored form. When you're ready to check your answer, go ahead and replay this video. All right, the answer to our first one is 3 parentheses x squared plus 2. All right, our next one is 2x parentheses x minus 2. All right, go ahead and answer your essential question. The checkpoint is waiting for you to take now, and good luck.